Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth in terms of understanding sort of psychopathy and how they target and how they malign others and how they use others sort of parasitically. And they do this through psychopathic commands, meaning commanding ways that they want you to relate to them and paint you into a corner, oftentimes that causes you to deny or be unattempted to your own gut, your own rational thinking, your own objective decision making power, and causes you to sort of fall into a slippery slope of making way too many sort of questionable decisions. This doesn't quite seem right, but this is fun. This doesn't quite seem right, but here you go. This doesn't quite seem right, but yeah, let's do it. This doesn't quite seem right. There's this gear that they tend to sort of override and I think just sort of slip an emotional gear in others where they're inattentive to this boundary factor, this I am factor. And you don't realize, and it's so interesting because in my own thought and reflection, I sort of arrived to the conclusion that part of this is to get you to malign from yourself, sort of abandon your own self. And I kind of came upon that on my own reflection, and I'm very interested to hear that other individuals, there was another author who also understood this concept as well. And I'm just getting a book that a viewer had recommended called How Psychopaths Exploit Others. I think was the title, by Ethan West. Is that the one? Maybe I don't have it fully correct. But I find that very interesting because, wow, it's just like this, there's something to this. And the questionable decisions that people then it's usually in the name of growth. It's for the better of good. It's for us. It's for excitement. Usually the questionable decisions are on the air of something more exciting. And there's usually this sort of hyperventilating, in the beginning. I think that gets people sort of in the hyper aroused, or, you have to really unpack this. So I'm really into the details. So look at it and understand how you are separated from your free will through oftentimes that hyper arousal that involves a difference in your breathing, a difference in your focus, a difference in your heart rate, a difference in the feeling and tingle of your skin. I mean, these are all states that I want you to understand that are part of, I feel, the beginning of when they get people maligned against their very own selves. So you have to sort of get into recovery of reclaiming your full-bodied, strong, 100% all there present I am that's based in a clear connection to your own self-trust, trust of life, connection to your higher self. I mean, this is what we're talking. You're there, you're okay. You don't have to prove and justify that you're right or that you're good enough or you're exciting enough or whatever it is that you bought into in the beginning when people were grooming you to be abused, that were grooming you to be sucker punched, that were grooming you to make these questionable decisions. So, in other words, if they can get you that far off track and off journey for yourself and then just sort of drop you off where the buses don't run, where, Jesus left his shoes or no one left their shoes, how do you find yourself back to square one? Well, and you might feel very lost, terrorized, and like, how did this happen or blow up in my face? Realize that in the beginning, there are the commands that are to encourage you to think differently, to get off track. They encourage you to sort of slip gears, and to get off track, to jump the ship, jump your train, jump where you were headed to, and, just start with them. It's more exciting. It's usually the thrill. It's usually there's some sort of thrill or wow, in this, you might call it a wow factor. And not, once again, not just a wow factor that is sustainable, but a wow factor that requires you to sort of disown yourself, denigrate and deny yourself. There is something that you have to give up. Oftentimes, your I am in the beginning, because they don't have empathy, remember, and they don't have a conscience. So they relate to others oftentimes in ways that they have learned to coax and con and deceive, normally sort of to make you blind to that which is going on, by virtue of the excitement, which then becomes the hyper arousal, which is then changing of your breathing, your pupil, your, you get addicted to this sort of psychopathic high. Almost, I would consider it like an addiction to like a sugar, almost like an emotional sugar or something which is very strong and potent. I think in the book Emotional Vampires, what is his name? Dr. Bernstein talks about, it's like a chemical high that could beat any heroin on the market. I mean, you can't, it's strong enough, you can't even pick it up on the street corner. This idea of being your best is usually coupled with them, with the relationship for some reason. They lead you to believe this, that somehow your excitement, your advancement, you're living the fantasy, or really what becomes delusion, is inextricably attached to them. Attachment is not good because it puts you on an external locus of control. So unless you are also allowed to be and think for yourself, you're going to feel empty. You're going to feel like this person put on a show, a sham, and that they're on some other sort of fantasy level, and you're sort of not in the party. Eventually you'll feel this gap in separation, and then feel that whatever stuff you need, you don't have, and that then they have it. So it becomes this separation of wits and free will, and communication becomes annihilated. So accurate and objective communication is no longer able to be spoken, lived in, become your I am. So people then really feel that they're living in an altered sense of reality. Oftentimes, sometimes pleasant, sometimes, but usually on the extreme pleasant, and then on the extreme very unpleasant. So you've got these real extremes that will throw the show off. So you have to come back to center, and come back to balance, and come back to I am, and just, this is your free will. I mean, and get back, because what works for you is your I am, and your strength, and your clarity and connection to the source of what you know to be true, and really energizes you and allows you to be respected. And the questionable decisions are there to sort of ruin your reputation, ruin your depart you from and separate you from your values, your better decision-making capacity, whatever it is you want to call it. People really begin to become people-pleasing very quickly with this type of relationships. They are then commanded to, you are here to please me. You are here to help me. You are here to save me at all costs. It's kind of like, even though this person is okay, even though you might have sort of laid your back down for them to walk on to get them from their A to B, I mean, is there not there's always some sort of sob story when they're grooming, you need to help me. I think it's usually, right? I mean, can we get a show of hands here? Can we get, that happened to me? I mean, we need to do a live stream. I know, viewers have asked to do a live stream. We're going to check that out. I know I just need to learn how to do it, and maybe we'll do it on a weekend. I'm not sure when it's good for people, but we'll just sort of pop it up and see what's going, so we can have like a super chat going. And awesome. Thank you for your questions and your inquiries, and just what would make the channel better for you. I definitely appreciate your feedback. I mean, like, I think the viewer just said, like, I would like this to be more interactive. So I do, like, read all the comments. I give the thumbs up. I'm not here since we do a lot of the discussion here, I'm not here to like do a lot of comments and do a lot of that, because it's really about you guys and opening up your experience and then connecting the dots. And this is, it's all about results here for you guys. So we'll definitely look into the live chat. Maybe it'll help to unpack some of these all-out discussions. Awesome. What a good idea. We just made a discovery and a sort of a channel decision with you all here. So we'll do the live chat. And so you can kind of unpack it in the moment. So I always encourage you guys to like watch the videos and have a notebook, not just a computer, but get stuff in your own handwriting, because you develop a warmth, a bond, and a connection with a notebook, which is different from, or a like real hardback or paperback versus like a Kindle or a computer or a tablet. And nowadays, people get so addicted to their devices that they kind of feel like they have to do everything through their device, and that makes them more savvy and everything. It's okay to be savvy and have everything on your watch, or, your glasses. God knows, where it's going to be someday. Maybe you just go like this in the air and then you're at work. Who knows? But, you you have to remember that you're a physical being, and just you are not a robot. You are not just a technology, and you're more than just pushing a lot of buttons and data and everything like this. So I do recommend watching the videos with a notebook and writing down some important things and highlighting it, and like remembering your growth will skyrocket exponentially once you have the discipline to reinforce yourself. Discipline is to be a disciple of. You might as well become a disciple of yourself, or learn about yourself and develop a spiritual sensitivity and emotional sensitivity about your truth. This is called evolution, personal growth, personal milestones, going through stages of development, all these different things. So anyway, the questionable decisions that you made in the name of love, in the name of usually to fulfill this person, do you see how then that this can create a real people-pleasing approach, which then gets people really, really hardcore programmed and hardwired to please others and to take others as more important than themselves. Their happiness, their okayness, their quietness, everything becomes about that, because if usually it's like the old saying, happy wife, happy life. It becomes like happy psychopath, happy existence is really what ends up becoming the decision making at the questionable. You just sort of have a gear slip decision making, if you will. Just getting back to the gear slips, it's almost as if like the gears were so well oiled that you just by default you had to survive, to exist, to keep an emotional balance or a sanity. You had to, or you were led to believe that their happiness is more important, that their okayness, that it was then okay for them to continue to abuse you, manipulate you, and malign you against yourself. Do you see how you become an unwilling and unwitting participant to your own self-negation, which is not good. That definitely generally is not good. That you can't support yourself, that you can't live and feel safe, that you have free will, that you are founded on wholesomeness, integrity, and authenticity, that you can be true to yourself, and that you're not threatening someone else by being happy. Usually that's part of the problem, is that your happiness is not welcome here. Your okayness is not welcome here. Your truth, your opinion, your perception is not welcome here. It's caused to be denied simultaneously because you probably see through the veil, or you have the ability to. You've been with them long enough. You've close enough. You're romantic. You're onto things. You're on the trail. You're snuffing something out. Something is off. And you're about to follow up on that, and they don't, it's like the cat and mouse game. They kind of like to be hunted, because to them, That's attention. And then they have you. They basically, even if it's negative, it's the same as if it's positive. So if you're combative with them, you're still under their control. You're still under their spell. They still have you like under their puppeteering way. And so, it's hard, to receive that. And it's okay to not be someone else's puppet. It's okay to think for yourself. It is okay to be happy. It is okay to not feel guilty. It is okay to embrace yourself. Do you see how this is a direct contradiction to the lie that they want you to live? Oftentimes, your okayness is in a direct conflict with their needs. And this is not good. I mean, this is not a way to be, live, or feel about self or your life. This is definitely not how life has intended for your life to be. Living your glory, living in joy, living in what makes you happy and excited. Do you see how your happiness, your excitement, your joy, your sustainability, and your emotional independence and balance cannot simultaneously exist with allowing a parasitic lifestyle? It cannot coexist. So it becomes, the statement is, it becomes let me just sort of put this together here. Your truth becomes a direct, well, how am I trying to word this here? It's just taking me a moment. Your okayness becomes a direct, like it cannot simultaneously exist. And I'll think of it again. I understand this statement. And I just sort of have not a brain freeze, but I'm just sort of kind of grappling for the way to put this. It becomes a direct contradiction to your self-esteem. So being in a relationship with them becomes a direct contradiction to being okay with yourself. I mean, if that makes any sense. So you can't be in direct, contradiction to yourself and still be in a relationship with them. Because to them, it's living a lie. It's so that you can be maligned to yourself. You cannot simultaneously negate yourself and still have self-esteem, which is valuing yourself and your truth and knowing this to be so. So and I'll refine that statement. But so it's okay to stop making the questionable decisions and feeling that you need to be addicted to people pleasing. And do you see how it can spill over into so many other aspects of your life? I mean, it becomes really all engrossing and all entrenching until you pull yourself out and you go, wow, I am not all that they painted me to be. I'm actually something much more and different. And that is what I'm about unfolding and exploring and developing and discovering, because that will be sustainable, that will be supportive, and that will give you happiness and fulfillment. But oftentimes your happiness and fulfillment is in direct conflict with them. Do you see? That is what I'm trying to understand, is your evolution, your growth, your happiness, your fulfillment, and being happy is in direct conflict with their lies, with what they want. So it cannot simultaneously exist. So if you are to continue, you have to part ways. I mean, even if you think this is difficult, it is. Even if you don't get it quite now, you will. If it doesn't seem like the right thing to do, keep your eye on the big picture. It will make sense. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and for goodness sake, please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Hope be with you. Hope within, hope without, and hope in the big picture. Reclaim your free will and your I am that is based on integrity and that is based on independence and detachment from those who seek to control, dominate, and create conflict and suffering in your life. It's okay to let them go. Have a beautiful day.